welcome to another craft roulette process video. And for this week, our parameters were a matchbook card, which I haven't cut a base panel for yet. It basically is like a top folding A2, except it has a little flap to sort of hold it in. And you can also staple that flap if you so desire to make it even more matchbook-like. Or you could use glue or whatever. The idea is the same, where you'd sort of just have a piece that was a little more reinforced, so when the top folds down, it would really tuck in. But the element we're working with is birds. The color palette is a flowering field. As you see, I have a few different vibrant colors here, and a bird set I haven't actually tucked into yet that we'll talk about in a second. And the last thing was wood grain, and our branch has some wood grain on it. I'm going to reuse a lot of scraps. These two pieces were from our Easter treat boxes. I'm going to use this for the wood and this for the a portion of the bird, and then use the lighter one for the rest of the bird. I haven't seen if the bird can actually, I think the birds can actually, yeah, they could actually fit on here pretty easily. Anyway, the other cool thing about this die is if you look, these are plates for the sidekick. So like all this stuff you can punch out with the sidekick. Our main card base is going to be 3.5 by 11, and then we're going to fold it so you wind up with sort of a main sort of focal piece or a main front of the matchbook that's 3 by 4.5. So I'm going to cut that out of the flowers. Then you have sort of a 3 by 3/4 of an inch that goes over the flat part that you tuck in. So that's what I'm probably going to use this for. This is from Spring Fling, which I believe is last year's Spring Cat Scrappiness pattern paper, and this is from Summer Vibes, which I think was last year's summer pattern paper. Obviously, there is the new Sea Creature set that I have yet to do anything with, but that's a project coming in soon too. I couldn't find this on her website anymore, but I'm pretty sure this is a Cat Scrappiness word die. There's also a Hello My Crafty Friend and a few others, so I grabbed this to sort of be a sentiment. And I had it already die cut from Christmas, but I think this sort of red pearlescent works really nicely to stand out from the more pastel colors. And this is a really neat die set, but I want to kind of walk you through what pieces go with what bird, because I found it slightly confusing off of the bat. So the bird with his hand outstretched that has sort of the squinty eye gets this piece, and this piece. This is his outstretched wing, basically, and these two other pieces are his closed wing and sort of his chest area. I don't know what one would call that on a bird exactly. And then the other bird that isn't outstretched and has the two eyes just gets this as its wing, and then it gets the smaller of the two beaks. The larger beak goes with this guy. And this guy is probably slightly easier to line up because the beak has an area to go. Here you can pretty much put the beak wherever you want. And I think I'm going to go with the bird with the eyes because I really like the eyes. I don't think I'm going to use any of the leaves today, but they are also part of this set. And then there's a lot of hearts because this was intended as a Valentine's Day set, but we're going to use it as a summer card because why not? So I'm going to take a quick break and then come back once all this stuff is die cut and the card base is cut out and we can put all this together. But I'm not going to force you to watch me cutting things for 10 minutes. And we are back. That was actually not too much time in real time. It was only maybe 10 minutes, if that. So I wanted to just come back. And I haven't tried out the scoring feature of this trimmer, so I figured we could try it out together and see if it works or not. So let us see. So we want to score at 4 3/4 and then at 10. So if I go to 10, which if you're playing along at home, this is just an inch. And I'm curious, it kind of puts a score line in. We're definitely going to need to go back over it with a bone folder, but you can definitely see where it is, but it's hard to tell until we start playing with it. Actually, it feels pretty okay. And then what did I say? 4 3/4, I believe, was... Yeah, and 4 3/4. Well, it's interesting, because compared to a blade, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything, but it is putting a score line in there. Sorry about that. My USB decided to resync for some reason, and my camera wanted to turn off. But I was going to say, in honor of this being a cat scrappiness project, I think that we will break out our cat scrappiness bone folder, which is just like any other bone folder, but it has a cool logo on it. Um, and I do like it quite a lot. It's nice and heavy too, so it doesn't warp or bend, which was kind of an issue I had with the one that comes with the We Are Memory Keepers. So you can kind of see how this goes together. What I am going to do is use a tool I use very little, which is my stapler, and I'm just going to go in and put 2 staples here, assuming I have staples in here. Maybe I don't. I do not have staples. Oh well. So I'm going to... I made a line. I was able to make a line with the staple, so I think we can just go in and glue that line and get a very similar feel because the glue should hold it pretty well. I am using my favorite glue ever, which is the Lineco pH Neutral. Just going to put a line here and put this to the side because we have a lot of other things to glue. And just burnish that down as one would do and hold it for a minute. And this should basically give us the same thing. If you're doing sort of like a book fold card where you're kind of making a similar piece, the similar idea should work here. I will let that dry, and then basically at the end we can just go in and tuck this flap, basically. Assuming I didn't glue it down too much. Nope. So basically this, at the end, what happens is this flap just sort of tucks in, and the glue will hold that. Anyway, I'll let that finish drying. While we are here, I think we will move that to the side, move this bird over, and I do want to find if I have anything in my stash. Well, I think this very dark purple will work for our purposes. I'm just going to cut a very little bit out here. And this is just going to be for the behind the bird's eyes, so they're colored in some way. But I want to get this beak glued down. My jewel picker here. Just move that out of the way, and we will put a little dollop of glue there. Because I don't want to lose this beak, because that would make life a little less fun for this particular card. Anyway, that should be good. And then we can do a similar thing with the wing that is far less likely to get lost, but really it's a getting lost issue for me as opposed to anything else. And you can just do that. I think the rest of this will be pretty easy. Let's see if I can perhaps wipe off a little excess glue. There we go. I'm going to flip this guy over. Or girl. I don't know how one tells with birds, but yeah, that should be fine. Basically, what we just want to do is add a very small amount of glue, because we're basically gluing paper to paper, so it doesn't take that much. And I'm putting the glue sort of on the bottom of this, because I don't need the glue to necessarily cover the eyes. I just need the piece of paper to do that. And as you can see, like, that makes the eyes look a lot darker. So this guy can also dry, and then we can get the rest of this main panel assembled. Pretty much most of the work on this card is going to be on the main panel. So I think we can just do, we're going to wind up cutting some of this branch off so that it lines up properly. So I'll just, I guess we're pretty much gluing everything today, which I'm not always like a super into wet glue, but this line coat makes it a lot easier. And you can use the bone folder for burnishing, or you can use a squeegee or whatever your preference is. Then I'm just going to turn it over and cut off the pieces we don't need. That's not quite. There we go. I feel like I need new good scissors because these I cut through some kind of adhesive with these, and they're still not quite as nice as they used to be. Anyway, crafting problems, I suppose. Let's figure out, like, our bird we're going to just have sort of hanging out on the branch here. Now let's see. I think we'll put him under the E so there's enough room. Yeah, I think that'll work. So let's get the... And the bird is actually lifted up a little bit because of that piece I put behind him. So if we do sort of overlap with the hello, should be fine. Again, we don't need a ton of glue here, but we do need it to be facing the right way. So I will just do that, and then we just tap it down a little bit, wipe off any excess. The line coat has a little bit of working time, but not a lot, so just FYI, if you haven't used it before, it does come off your hands very easily, because it is a water-soluble glue. I'm just going to press down with the bone folder just to make sure glue is everywhere, and that is good, and then all we really need to do is get our little birdie friend on. I'm just grabbing a little of the glue I put down and just sort of putting it on his feet just to make sure that they glue down. I just pretty much try to outline whatever the die cut is, but really gluing paper to paper, you tend to have a good amount of working time. And I mean, it also doesn't take that much glue. I think that's a mistake I made. And like almost everybody makes when they start using wet adhesive is you need about a tenth as much as you think you do. Just going to wipe the end off this glue bottle. I'm really impressed because I'm good at destroying glue bottles that this KB Riley glue bottle has been working for several weeks without failing. So, and basically what generally happens is the ones that don't have pins in them allocate, in the potentially week between doing things, they'll tend to get stuck. So all we really need to do here, whoops, yeah, there we go. So as you can see, this even is open a little bit, and if you want it to be more flat, you can just run over it with the bone folder again, and that'll make it a little easier to deal with temporarily. So I am going to figure out how our panel sits. We'll just pull this out. And this just sits right here in the middle, and this bottom part tucks under. If you wanted to bring some additional color in, we can you could ink blend the edges. I think I will. It's looking a little, let's see how this will look all together. Yeah, I think this would look nice with a little of some color on it. Probably blue, because we know I'm kind of obsessed with a certain blue at the moment. And I think I have it. I actually put things away for once. Although we could do something, actually, could use this in the park, which is not blue, but is in fact green. But I think a green would sort of nicely offset some of the colors in the paper. And I'm going to tap off, and I'm just doing a little bit. Oh, that's going to work really nicely. Then I'm going to open up here for a second and just do it here too, just to sort of bring in that color. All the way, and then it'll be there if you put your message. But then we can come back and pull that in a little, and that's all there is to it. I don't know. This is kind of a technique I borrowed from Ardeth, who uses it a lot, mostly as a way to not have to purchase pattern paper as frequently, because basically, the ink does the same thing. Or I shouldn't say pattern paper, but colored cardstock. So then we can just adhere this guy down. Just grab some. And I really like the polka dots in this particular pattern paper pad. Oh, there we go. I was like, oh no, did we run out of adhesive? I'm good at running out of adhesive in the middle of videos too, but, we all have our strengths, I guess. There we go. Okay, so that's part one, and then we just need to figure out I think I want to go back with more ink and like get this edge a little bit more inked. But I don't want to wreck what I've already done, so I'll just grab, well, this should work. Just grab some scrap paper and basically protect the card. And here we can just pull the color across the card entirely. And the really nice thing about the Catherine Pooler ink is it's self-leveling, so it's really easy to make this look not streaky. Anyway, there we go. And then we can decide if we want, I think the green on the bottom would look better and then the blue on the top. I kind of like it like this. You can get rid of this piece. You could actually use this again. It's funny, every time I have like a piece and I'm like, I'm never going to use that. I should totally throw it out. I wind up then using it, so I've been a little bit better about saving stuff and not trashing it. And this basically just lines up. And we are good. Whoops. I did not have that stuck down very well, did I? Huh. That is not adhering very well, but that's a problem we can solve with glue. It's interesting because I've never, very rarely have issues with dry adhesive not adhering to things, so that is an intriguing situation, certainly. Although this is a pretty shiny paper, so, but the thing it wasn't adhering to seemed to be the cardstock itself, so who knows? That is a interesting little conundrum, but one that is fixable. So this is our finished card. If you don't like this sort of ink blended in look, you could certainly put it, you can uh, just put some white cardstock over it, but I kind of think it's pretty neat. And you could also die cut out a heart or the leaves or other things in this die cut set or in the bird set if you are looking for if you're looking for some little embellishment to put on the inside, which can sometimes be nice. So there we go. Thanks for checking this out. I am Slightly Crooked. If you like these kind of card videos, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and have yourselves a fantastic Sunday.